This is my first city, this street in a sleepy suburb in Calgary, where my parents moved in 1958 after immigrating from Denmark. I learned to walk, talk, and think in that house right there. I scored the game-winning goal in countless Stanley Cup finals in this arena. I learned to ride a bike right here on this street. Beyond this sentimental street is the city at large. And this episode, as an urbanist, is going to be a tough one. I've never quite covered a city like this before in the Life-Size City series. A big North American city burdened with all the issues that I now know to be detrimental to urban life. This is Calgary, sure, but you know what? This is Houston. This is Denver. You name it. A lifeless urban core of gaudy skyscrapers that's abandoned every afternoon because, yeah, rampant, unchecked urban sprawl, let alone the challenges of social, racial, and income inequality. But I know everywhere I go, there are people struggling to make things better, and here more than anywhere else, I really need to meet them. Let's be honest. When you think about the next Life-Size City episode, you might not immediately think of Calgary. The city is not naturally synonymous with livability, sustainability, and diversity. Canada's petroleum capital is usually associated with the stampede and cowboys, pickup trucks and oil drilling, suburban sprawl, and, well, highways. For a long time, this boom and bust city marched to the rhythm of oil prices. But things are turning around, it seems. The economy is diversifying, and so is the population. More and more immigrants are settling in, making it one of Canada's most diverse cities. Calgary has even consecutively elected 2 people of color as mayors. But of course, growth comes with more challenges and new challenges. So how do you favor sustainability in an intrinsically car-oriented city? How do you foster diversity and equality in a divided society where individualism and capital accumulation have been the goal for so long? Well, as always, it starts with the people. An increasing number of Calgarians want a different city, a new city, and they're not going to wait. The work here has begun. Byron.
Michael.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Byron Miller is a professor of geography and an urban planner. He studies urban social movements and the way they relate to politics, governance, and the environment. And he firmly believes that a sustainable, equal, and green Calgary is possible. In fact, pockets of this human-scale city already exist, like here, in a part of Sunnyside that locals call Kensington.
This is one of the walkable neighborhoods of Calgary. Great transit access. It has pretty much all of your basic needs here, grocery stores, there's parks. In many ways, this is one of the more European types of neighborhoods in Calgary.
And European just because you can walk in it, in a way, right?
That's right. One of the things that's important to understand about Calgary is that this is a city that has had almost the entirety of its growth during the era of the automobile.
So how do you describe Calgary to somebody who's never heard of it?
It's a city of paradoxes. It's a very wealthy city. It is also, at least by some metrics, the most unequal. It is a city that has a lot to offer. It's frequently very high in the various, livability index ratings. But those indices don't tell you things like socio-spatial segregation. That's not part of the index.
That's not sexy.
No, exactly. It doesn't tell you ecological footprint. And we have one of the highest ecological footprints in the world.
Yeah.
People have, on average, have a lot of money to spend, and that level of consumption also impacts ecological footprint.
With the accelerating impacts of climate change, Calgary needs a transformation, both for the sake of its citizens and for the sake of the planet. radical urban interventions are needed in numerous sectors in order to push things along towards sustainability. But is this place even ready? Ready to stand out? Ready to be bold? I hear a lot of narrative from people in my industry, well, our industry, about Calgary. Oh, yeah, there's things happening.
Yeah.
I mean, how true is it?
They are changing. They're changing slowly. There are many of us who would argue that things are not changing fast enough. There are other people who don't want things to change. And so this continues to be, a battle over the future of the city. But I think there is increasing recognition that we need to have other options, and moving toward planning for communities that are oriented toward active and public transportation. And that means more dense communities. That means a greater emphasis on public space.
With a growing population and people gravitating to this city from all over the world, Calgary needs to find a path forward, and quickly. From 2001 to 2010, nearly 120,000 immigrants knocked on Calgary's door. From 2011 to 2021, add 160,000 more. Over 2 decades, Calgary's population grew from less than 900,000 to more than 1.3 million. A more equal and sustainable future is not a luxury here. It is a necessity. How do we, use inclusivity in the city, in urban design, in order to welcome the immigrants and all the new people coming to the city?
Right. That's a great question, and there's not an easy answer. And I think one of the problems that we have seen is we are so dependent on market housing that this is really what has driven the social segregation of the city, because the desirable areas get bid up by the market, and the least desirable areas become the least expensive areas, and this drives that social segregation. We need to have a much larger non-market housing sector. Calgary has a very, very small non-market housing sector, even by North American standards. Wow. About 3.5% of all dwelling units are non-market in Calgary.
To be clear, non-market housing encompasses any housing protected from the impacts of market forces. Social housing, co-ops, land trusts, nonprofit housing corporations.
And we have to make sure that housing is not ghettoized, but rather is spread throughout the city, so that people of all walks of life can live in all parts of the city. And in that way, we'll start to normalize the fact that there are people from different walks of life in different social circumstances, and we'll see that on a daily basis.
Currently, over 80,000 households in Calgary spend more than 30% of their income on housing and are in need of more affordable solutions. The city has recently estimated that 15,000 more affordable units are necessary in order to fulfill that need. Add to that the soaring price of food across the nation, and you've got yourself a perfect storm for people who struggle to make ends meet. And yet, food is wasted every single day. Lots of it. Lourdes, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
Nice to see you.
And you?
Globally, we waste 40% of what we produce, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Everyone has been guilty of it. We have always seen in our lifetime all of this food going to waste. So it's a very relatable issue. It just makes no sense to me.
So Lourdes created Leftovers, an app that redirects food waste from places of plenty to places of need. Here's how it works. The app matches donors, could be a restaurant, a bakery, or a grocery store, with volunteers that deliver unsold food to service agencies.
It all started, I think, about, it was 10 years ago. I just saw it happen. I just saw a bakery that was going to throw out about 200 pounds of food, and I thought, this is wrong. We should probably do something about it. And it's such a tangible thing to bring food from one place to the next. And so it became a really easy sort of concept for people to grasp onto.
You basically pick a route that's most practical for you. Anyone can sign up, fit it into their schedule, and carry out the quantity of deliveries that they have time for. In 2021, on something like 3,500 routes, around 140,000 meals were provided. And get this, over $500,000 worth of food was saved.
So this is what it looks like. Continue. You can go to My Routes, And this is the route that we decided to pick up today. And here we are at Bridgeland Market. We're gonna start our route at 9:50.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be in progress. We're gonna deliver it to the Calgary Community Fridge, which is about a 10-minute drive.
All right, so you basically locked us into a delivery.
We're ready to go.
Let's do it.
Okay,
All right, cool.
awesome.
All right. Lead the way.
Hey guys,
Morning.
we're good. How are you?
Good.
Do you have a leftovers pickup for us today?
2 seconds.
Thank you. So we have lots of local businesses sign up on the app. We have also large corporations that sign up or willing to donate food.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, first we pick up the food. We enter the estimated weight and dedicated volunteer hours, in this case, about 7 kilograms and half an hour. Then we type in the info about quantity and quality. Take a photo, and off we go.
So we'll load it up.
All right,
Just on the floor is great. Perfect.
cool. This is a great example of simplicity fostering social engagement. Volunteering, in this case, does not have to be a burden. And the leftovers model can be replicated in any city. It's already implemented in 2 other Canadian cities, Edmonton and Winnipeg. This could and should be done everywhere on the planet. All right.
Okay. You got the bag?
Yeah. What, we just put it here?
Yeah, so we'll put this stuff
This is
in
cool.
the fridge
Yeah.
and let's unpack it here.
Let's just look and see what's in it.
Okay, so there's bread in here right now.
Like loads of loaves of
great.
bread. All different kinds. Oh, that's just arrived. It's still not even frozen yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
oh,
cool.
wow. So someone must have dropped off this morning.
Like-minded individuals have been here.
That's right. And we'll see what the fridge is like. So there's a thing of kale. It looks like someone must have harvested this from their garden.
All right.
Which is great because, you know, if you have an overproduction of food in your garden,
Yeah.
it's a great place to drop it off.
So what do? We just slap it in?
Yes, we'll put that there. Perfect.
Cool.
Great. Awesome.
It's like super simple. Trust-based system as well, right?
Yeah, so they're running on empty. Like this is, but people will drop off during the day and people will come take it. So
Yeah.
none of it goes to waste here.
Gabriella is a volunteer organizer for the Calgary Community Fridge Initiative. This simple design is made of a fridge, a freezer, and a pantry. After only a year, they've grown to receive donations from about 100 people a week. That is a very healthy start. You know, what is the thought process about placing it exactly here?
Yeah, so there's a few different reasons why we place it in an area like this. For one, it's high traffic. We're near a main road, near transit access. There's also a mixed level of income in the area. You know, some people who are lower income and some that are higher income that might be able to donate to the fridge more often. The other reason why as well is because this strip here has a lot of different shops and businesses that we're familiar with. We have good relationships already with a lot of the vendors that are in the neighborhood. So we thought it was a good place to put the fridge.
Okay, so it's not just there are people who need the food here. It's actually there's people who can donate the food,
Yes,
right? That's
exactly.
okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, are there days where it's just filled with food, and days like maybe today there's just some bread in the freezer?
Yeah. Some days there are a lot of things in the fridge, but to be honest, the need is really high, and oftentimes it's only full for maybe an hour, not even. I myself have dropped off a whole bunch of food, and then I come back in an hour, and it's all gone. So.
Yeah.
Well, just in a few minutes we've been here, the food that we dropped off is half of it's gone.
A woman came and checked, another woman dropped off. It's like it was a great little symbiosis there, you know?
You know, the fridges do address they're an immediate response to food insecurity to people who need food. But in the long run, to really address the root causes of the food insecurity, we need to address things like income inequality. So things like a universal basic income, better low-income housing for folks who are not able to afford rent, for example. Those all contribute to addressing the issue of food insecurity. The reason why people can't afford good, healthy, nutritious food is because they don't have the money to buy it. And so although these projects are great and we love being able to do these projects, to really address the issue, we do need those government policies.
Is it bread?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, awesome.
Can I help put it in?
Yeah, here. Oh, it smells so good.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
All right.
here we go. Bye, thank you.
Thanks.
Nice to
See
see
ya.
you. You know, we can work with other food rescue organizations around the world that are like Leftovers, and we can, you know, have them using this platform so that it's easy for them to scale, so that we can not lose momentum for people who want to volunteer, donate, and for people that need the food.
I'm going to really assume, as an urban planner, which you are, that this is not the only thing you do, right? You seem like
correct.
you got a finger in a lot of pies. So what other projects are you working on?
So in the food security space, what we were finding with Leftovers was that, you know, we were bringing food from places like Bridgeland Market, and we were bringing that to service agencies. And what we were finding were there were households that were food insecure that perhaps didn't need to go to a service agency, but really needed that food access. And so we came up with a mobile grocery store, and Fresh Roots was sort of born out of a project from the Leftovers Foundation. And we just have a fleet of vehicles. We have a bus, a truck, and a van. So we retrofitted a decommissioned City of Calgary transit bus and created a mobile grocery store. And we pop up in different places in Calgary that are either in food deserts or have a vulnerable or marginalized population, where they can purchase food at 25 to 45% below market value.
All right, cool.
And they can get it right at their doorstep. And that to me is sort of this work on a food dignified model. And to us, food dignity means, you know, it shows up right at your doorstep, it's affordable, it's culturally appropriate, and there's no proof of income. So like a place like this, you don't have to prove how poor you are to get access to your basic human right of fresh food.
Calgary is located in the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, and the names for the place in many of the Indigenous languages in the area, like Blackfoot, Nakota, Cree, Sarcee, mean the same thing: elbow. For millennia, people gathered here where the Bow and Elbow rivers meet and lived off the land. This is the first time filming the life-size city that I have actually left the urban environment. I'm an hour outside of Calgary on the Indigenous lands of the Stoney Nakota First Nation, and I'm proud to acknowledge that fact. But I'm really looking forward to finding out how this fantastic environment out here directly and positively impacts the life of urban Indigenous youth. So I'm really wondering what the context is here. All these city kids out here in this beautiful landscape on the Indigenous lands.
A big part of why we brought the kids back to the land is to give land-based teachings. And the land-based teachings allow youth to connect back to their identity, the richness of our culture and ceremony. And so just hanging out with another Indigenous youth has a connection for them.
Serena Provost is the Indigenous manager at the YMCA Calgary. Teaming up with the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth, the USAY, they've taken some 30 youngsters with Indigenous backgrounds on a 3-day outing to Camp Chief Hector, helping them reconnect with nature and with their culture.
A lot of our kids grew up in the city. Some of them are, unfortunately, in the foster care system. We're dealing with addictions, we're dealing with intergenerational trauma, we're dealing with colonization, oppression. You know, they have different forms of bullying that they deal with nowadays. And a lot of them, if you ask them where you're from, they'll identify with a city, not their ancestral connections or their root.
This camp hosts one of numerous programs focused on the Indigenous youth of Calgary. Multiple organizations like the YMCA and USAY offer sports, art, drama, music, Indigenous drum and dance, traditional skills and knowledge, history lessons, and much, much more.
See, like this, but you're gonna have to use your whole body, okay? So when I come, I hear, and then just throw it up like that. Just like that. That was a little bit better, that was a little bit better. Okay, go grab your arrows. Okay. That was a good throw, yeah.
Now, these youth who are here today, is this the first time that they have, come out here onto the land?
Yes, a lot of them, this is the first time outside on the land. They've never experienced something like this in Calgary. Back in the day, our people lived off the land. Without the land, we wouldn't still be here. Mother Earth has showed us how to hunt, how to gather, how to survive, how to provide. And the land teaches us the frequencies of who we are as Indigenous people. It allows us to connect back to our language because we learn words and animals and stories. We're oral people, we're storytellers. A lot of our youth have this inner fire that they're just waiting to just turn to light up their whole life, because they have an interest. It's like an inherent, like it's inside their spirit that's calling them back to the culture, calling them back to the language, calling them back to the land. And I think that's really important for young people to understand and know.
Diversity is clearly one of Calgary's primary building blocks, as many of Canada's First Nations settled here over time. And today, that diversity has expanded, enriched by people from across the globe. It is now one of this vast nation's most diverse cities, with more than 120 languages spoken. 36% of the population here identify as visible minorities. And this is how they roll in Calgary. Newcomers can find resources and guidance inside a strip mall.
Hi.
Hi. Anila, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Michael. How are you?
Good, I'm great.
Everyone's kind of busy doing things. You're going to see, a lot of our clients and a lot of our staff kind of milling around and doing their own thing. And we're right on the C train line, so it's easy to get to us. We're also walkable from a lot of the communities.
Anila is the president and CEO of the Centre for Newcomers, a key resource for immigrants and refugees in Calgary. Born in Canada of immigrant parents from India, Anila has witnessed her city's revolution since her childhood. Once a mostly homogenous city, Calgary is now a cosmopolitan hub, and Anila can now observe this diversity firsthand. This newly renovated space, 50,000 square feet of it, has multifunctional and modular rooms. It offers workshops, language classes, a daycare, programs to support at-risk youth, microloans, mental health support, counseling, and a whole lot more. How many people do you provide services for here in the center?
So in any given year, we'll see about 40,000 unique clients that will come through our doors. And any given day, we can have up to 4,000 people coming in and out. So that's from about 8:30 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night.
Wow, that's a lot. Anila and I grab a snack and head over to watch an unexpected cricket match. Yep, the sport is on the rise here. The many immigrants from India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka have brought their passion for cricket with them to the prairies. And that's a good sign. Proof that a mixed culture, influenced by newcomers from the entire planet, continues to have its place in the cities of today.
Just on the first one? Okay. All right. We're sitting here watching cricket today, right? And the nice part about it is, we really started off with one cricket pitch that was downtown Calgary. That was started, like over 100 years ago.
Riley Park, right?
In Riley Park, and then from there, as new communities started to get built in Northeast Calgary, instead of putting in baseball fields, they put in cricket pitches.
Where does Calgary stand among Canadian cities for how welcoming they are to immigrants?
We know that we're the number 3 city for new immigrants to first arrive to. So people like to go to Toronto, they like to go to Vancouver, then they come here. But there's still a lot of work to be done to ensure that the community as a whole is also welcoming. And that's where, we do a lot of work at the Centre for Newcomers, is not only helping newcomers, but also working with the community to help the community welcome them. We know that by 2036, so not very long from now, everybody's going to be like the child of immigrants, or they're going to be immigrants themselves, right? So that's 50% of the population by 2036. And we know that at some point within my lifetime, within our lifetime, we will start seeing the population shift to racialized communities being in majority over non-racialized communities. And one of the growing pains of that is really continuing to evaluate our systemic kind of laws and policies and practices that were put in place for a very different context, 50, 60, 70 years ago, that really need to be updated to be much more inclusive of the population that we have now.
Oh, I still got it, huh?
Yeah, you got it. Good job.
Hey, thanks, brother. Cool.
The Centre for Newcomers, we really are striving to create a hub And at the hub, we want not only newcomers to come, but we want everyday Calgarians to also come, but really just curating an atmosphere where people from different places, different spaces, walks of life could come together.
And, well, in a way, you're saying public space, right? Like, creating more public space in this sprawled city. If I live somewhere in the south in a white neighborhood or whatever, I mean, I'm never going to see people of color.
Exactly.
So creating the public spaces where you're just crossing, you're just seeing everybody. Everybody's seeing everybody, right? Definitely in the neighborhoods, there should be more focus on public space,
Definitely, being able to get that together. And then also I know that, city leaders are really looking at the revitalization of downtown and being able to create much more of an atmosphere that people will want to come into downtown, and diversifying, who uses space there should also continue to do when it comes to just creating a much more inclusive downtown core.
So where do we need to go from here as a city?
We need to be very purposeful in terms of not only proportional representation in leadership positions in our government agencies and commissions and boards, but also equitable representation, right? To ensure that voices are truly heard. I think those things are the most important to be able to move forward.
A great sign that things do evolve is, of course, the mayor in office. Calgarians recently elected their first woman mayor, Jyoti Gonbek, also the second person of color to hold that position after former mayor Naheed Nenshi. But that was only the first step for Mayor Gonbek, who plans to shake things up and implement real change.
So I'm pretty happy that I get to tell the story of my city. And generally what I say to people is Calgary's a place where if you believe in yourself and you believe in a great idea, you can be successful.
Mayor Gonbek brought a wave of change to City Hall. Her first post-election move? Get the City Council to declare a climate emergency with a net zero emissions objective for 2050. A very bold statement in Canada's oil capital.
The interesting thing about Calgary, we were comfortable letting people tell our story. It just didn't bother us because the economy was good, life was good. Who cares what everybody thinks? Well, it does matter what people are saying about us, and they do need to know the truth about this city. I can't tell you how many times I do interviews and I say, did you know we're the third most diverse city in Canada? Oh, I had no idea. Well, you should come here and check it out. So come here and listen to our stories. Let us tell our stories, because there's a lot of people that look a lot like me that call this place home. And we are incredibly interested in projecting that we're an inclusive and welcoming place. We've got companies that have said 40% of my workforce is typically marginalized groups. And they're very happy to be able to, support local people and demonstrate diversity in their workforce.
I'm interested in hearing about why you declared a climate emergency, because I want to ask you what your vision is for this city, and it seems like it's tied into the first thing you did as mayor.
Yeah, during the campaign, one of the consistent themes that I heard from people, young and old alike, is that we need to protect our environment. We need to make sure that we've got a future for our kids and our grandkids. So I took that quite seriously, and I know that our administration had come to us for years and said we need to take greater action on climate, and we would nod and go, yeah, that's a great idea, and never really declare anything. And when it became abundantly clear that the price of doing business is to ensure that you're clear about your commitment to climate, and when I think about the fact that anybody that we might look to for assistance with capital would want to see an ESG strategy, it became abundantly clear that this council had to declare a climate emergency so we would be taken seriously.
An ESG strategy means taking environmental, social, and governance factors into consideration when making investment decisions. And Calgary is really taking this to heart. The Climate Implementation Plan puts forward a long list of actions: creating climate-resilient communities, reducing risk of river flooding, ensuring new construction is more energy efficient, and retrofitting existing ones, migrating to a renewable energy supply, introducing electric buses, and, well, all the knock-on effects that these things will have.
If we commit to doing that as a city, and our city assets are more energy efficient, I think it's going to drive others to do the same thing, providing incentives for them to do this, and with new homes, making sure that there is consideration of the climate and energy and everything that we're requiring is going to be important. And yes, there are people that think it was ridiculous and why did we need to do this and it was all for show. You know, if you take it seriously, then the people who are funding programs around climate consciousness are actually investing their dollars. So we would never be able to go to any type of a capital provider and say, look, we're interested in electrification if we didn't demonstrate that we're taking climate seriously.
I've heard exactly the same line from 4 different people. I mean, she declared a climate emergency in her first week, and then she approved 5 new suburbs. How do you respond to that?
It's an interesting dilemma to be on a council with 14 other colleagues. So it's a 15-member council, and the majority vote wins. I didn't vote for those communities.
You voted against, right?
I voted against for a very specific reason, because I don't think it should be a political decision. When it comes to people saying, how can you declare a climate emergency and then still grow? We've got to stop being fearful of these things. We've got a downtown revitalization strategy. It's off to a great start. Just need to keep pushing it in that direction. So 10 years from now, I see many, many more people living in the downtown. I see many, many more communities that are more diverse in types of housing, with all kinds of employment hubs. I just see a very different future for Calgary, where people have a more sustainable option to live in the city.
Like in many cities, the downtown core is a busy mix of retail and offices, with those shiny glass towers. Unlike most cities, however, this one empties out almost completely on weeknights and weekends.
You know, the city's always struggled to try and densify the core. They're making some efforts, but it's still just this is where everybody comes to work, everybody hits the road, not a ton of street life, or very little street life. There's some little sort of, you know, as you know, like the 8th Avenue Mall, there's certain little pockets where you could sort of think you're in a big city, but a lot of the time it's like this.
Gary Burns is an award-winning filmmaker who combines a documentary sense of observation with satirical humor. Highly critical and deeply funny, his films comment on the absurdity of modern life, like the suburbs in Radiant City and downtown office work in the indie classic Way Downtown. You're calling it the plus 15s, which is basically this series of bridges that connect the office buildings at 15 feet.
They're
above
15 feet above street level, yeah. At lunch hour, you'll see it's like Ant Farm.
Yeah.
They're used a lot because one of the reasons, of course, is even all the food fairs, they're all up there. A lot of the retail is up off the street. So why be down there? So even when the weather's nice, people will stay up in them.
Inaugurated in 1969, the Plus 15 is now a network of 86 bridges spanning a distance of about 16 kilometers, connecting more than 130 buildings. You can basically get around the whole downtown core without ever stepping foot outside. It's Saturday today, so there is a totally different vibe here.
Yeah, you'll see even the mall, all these stores. I mean, look, you know, things just aren't open because why would they be? The workers are all out in the suburbs. Big city, 1.3 million people. You think if you're downtown on a Saturday, there's going to be some people around.
Yeah.
But they just built that plus 15.
That's the new one there. It's the curve.
Yeah, I would say in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
If you were actually going from that building to that building, obviously the best route is just go down to the street, man, and you know, wait for the walk sign and you're on your way. But of course, to get to that from that building to that building, you've got to go through here. There's a maze in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll find your way. But practically, it's the slowest mode. So they have these little signs that tell you, basically they're saying they don't want anybody sleeping in here, right? Because these are public realm.
Yeah.
But the buildings on either side are private.
This, my friends, is a very sneaky way to privatize your public space. On city streets and sidewalks, everyone is welcome, regardless of looks, ethnicity, social class, and financial status. But up here, above the streets, you need to go through private space to reach the supposedly public space. And along the way, you're faced with barriers, cameras, and security guards.
I think what the interesting thing is in a lot of cities, the idea of having something like this underground or above ground is to kind of keep people safe. There's no crime in here because there's security guards everywhere, whatever. You can control the space, control the environment. But Calgary's, you know, it's a pretty safe core. You get a bit of that, but I think mostly it's to protect the pedestrians from traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you're up here.
It's a great spot to stop, right? Because it literally, you know, big one-way street, 4 lanes. Can we see any humans? There's a guy on the bench over there.
Here we come. Here's a couple of lucky pedestrians. Wondering where they are.
Pedestrians. Should we wave? Do we wave at pedestrians here?
Exactly. It's ingrained. It's part of the DNA of the downtown.
But what can we do? How can you literally bring people back to the streets? Is it, you know, rezoning it so you can have small shops on the streets? I don't know. I mean,
I think the biggest thing is, of course, the plus 15s aren't going away, but you have to get rid of the one-way streets.
okay.
So from 3:30 to 6, when you'd normally be going, you're going to get a beer, you're going to get dinner after work, whatever. During rush hour, there's no parking on the streets. Widen the sidewalks, get rid of the one-way streets, and allow people to at least walk on the streets.
Yeah.
You know, because it really is just so inhospitable that it's, you know, it's just for cars.
Yeah,
and that's a huge chunk of the downtown.
All right, we just noticed in all of these plus 15s, it tells me what street is below me. I guess you need wayfinding, of course, right? You got to know where you are in the core, but it just tells me that that's the street I have absolutely no access to whatsoever. It's down there, and there's cars on it. Is change imminent, Gary?
You know, it's incremental, for sure. I think the car-centric city is, you know, we're buried in that. That's not going away. The suburbs are still king, and they always will be. I just saw a stat that 80% of new growth for the next 25 years will be in the suburbs. And they're looking for a 50-50 split by 2069. It's like, it couldn't be any less ambitious,
Yeah.
you know? Just like, really, that's it?
I saw in the research, I think it said about you is like, you know, still trying to love this place, right? Like, it's just like, yeah, that's my lot in life, is trying to love the city I chose to live in, right?
Yeah, my wife and I, Donna, it's a constant struggle,
Yeah.
really.
But it's cool, right? You're not complacent. You're kind of always, it's a struggle, right? So I think that makes it dynamic when you live in a city that's not perfect and you still dream that it's going to be better, right? 1981. That was the year that the first stretch of their LRT, light rail transit, was inaugurated. There are now 45 stations on the red and the blue line, and they continue to expand it. There's a new line on the way, the green line, and it is the most expensive infrastructure project in the history of this city. And that brings us to the cons. The original lines were placed a little bit farther away from the main roads, which created a very long, hard physical barrier for citizens in many of the neighborhoods here. It is also very downtown-centric, incredibly reliable during office hours, not so much outside of them. My suggestion is continue building these lines. It's great, they're high capacity. But what about connecting the neighborhoods more efficiently with the LRT by putting in tramways or streetcars, if you like so many cities are doing around the world, taking away space from cars and making the transport much more high capacity. And that would also connect neighborhoods that really have never been connected with public transport before. It's a great system, but there are a lot of tweaks. Far too many cities around the world have been engineered in opposition to nature in order for humans to thrive. But as climate change continues to teach us, we simply can't bypass the environment. As we move forward, we'll need to learn to live with nature, and not just on the odd camping trip.
This is the Bearspaw Dam. This is the point at which we draw our drinking water. A story that really begins at the Bow Glacier, some 300 kilometers further upstream. It's where we take about 60% of the city's drinking water, which complements the other drinking water from the Glenmore Reservoir. So when we draw our drinking water from this particular location, between this and the Glenmore Reservoir, we can take 950 megaliters of water per day to feed the city. So it's this completely hidden story underneath our feet, but is working day in, day out to make some of the cleanest drinking water in North America.
Tristan is one half of the art duo Sans Façon. He moved to Calgary from Scotland with his creative partner, Charles Blanc, to design a stormwater treatment facility that is also a park. You heard that right. 2 artists were hired to collaborate with engineers on a $26 million project for the water department. If that's not innovative thinking, I don't know what is.
This is an incredible situation, Michael, but to be able to see Fair Lodges Park from the air really helps tell that narrative, that story of water as it enters into the park. moves through the pond and down into the various different cells, and you can start to see from above the way it moves from one cell to the next, all the time polishing that water before it ultimately arrives at the stream at the back and then exits into the Bow River.
The idea is to have a functioning stormwater treatment facility that people can actually see and enjoy. It shows the complexity of water management and creates an awareness around the interaction between natural and man-made systems. Oh, and it also transformed an abandoned gravel quarry into a truly magnificent park.
So the idea here was really to allow artists to lead a team of subject matter experts to look at the situation and collaborate and develop on what is a huge public art project, piece of stormwater infrastructure, and then also a park, a public place that people can enjoy and become closer to that narrative.
What are the challenges the city faces regarding the rivers?
The rivers are a big part of the character of the city. I think often, when we go to the mountains and we see beautiful lakes and glaciers, we have a sort of innate relationship with those landscapes. We love them. We love our national parks. And somehow when it becomes into a city, we sometimes forget our connection to those things. They become a service. They become just part of a landscape. And actually our behavior and the way that we sort of relate on what we do, especially here, has a huge impact on the rest of the narrative all the way to Hudson's Bay.
Yeah.
In 2013, we had a major flood event in the city, one of the biggest in its history. 80,000 people were displaced from their homes.
Oh, wow.
It was huge. It was extraordinary, really, how the city and sort of the Utilities Environment Protection Department sort of galvanized and reacted to coping with this situation. So what you're looking at here at Dale Hodges Park was all underwater very quickly, as was much of Bowness on the opposite side of the bank.
Dale Hodges Park reduces the presence of sediments in stormwater by about 50%. In a nutshell, it uses gravity to filter water that flows down from the streets, dragging debris along with it.
Largely we hide those, we camouflage them in a city. But here what we wanted to do was not so much celebrate water, but explain what's going on without having to be didactic. You start to show people in those rain events, this happens. In low flow events, this is what happens. If the river floods, this is what happens. We start to, instead of fighting nature, is work with it.
It's massive. Is it downscalable? Could it be applied to a smaller site that has less of a need for stormwater runoff?
Yeah, I mean, the questions start at a very intimate scale, really. It's really what we do in our gardens or what we do on our sidewalks. So we can address these questions in different ways and in different cities in different ways in response to their environment or their context. But absolutely, there's no reason why we can't utilize something which is seen as a problem, stormwater, and create habitat with that stormwater. And you're right, it's a huge site. It's 40 hectares, which feels massive, feels like an enormous site when you're walking through. It can take a couple of hours to walk through it. But when you think it's 1,800 hectares of area that it's servicing, it's really, really small in comparison to the volume of water that we're bringing.
Well, in some places, it's rainwater, and in others, it's rising sea levels. Every city has its issues and its obstacles. But all around the world, citizens are finding solutions to tackle these challenges. And as they do, as they invest in a better place to live, they're inspiring each other to make things better. Many things. One thing is clear and very global. Climate change is transforming our cities. We need to take action. Our relationship with water has to change. But nobody says that we can't have a bit of fun.
We're just by the river on 10th Street Bridge, which is the future location of the Calgary Wave Park. If you can picture a wave across almost half of the river, about 30 meters wide, that's where we're hoping to have our project there.
All right. Born in France, David Rousseau traveled the world before finally settling down in Calgary. An avid ocean surfer, he discovered river surfing here, and it quickly became a passion. Board member of the Alberta River Surfing Association, David is working hard to create a man-made wave park and a public beach right here in downtown Calgary. How do you build a wave?
How do you build a wave? You're looking at a steel structure at the bottom of the river that has kind of this triangular shape where the water can flow around it. And at the bottom of this, you would have a kicker, and that kicker is what would create that wave, okay? And that structure can be completely collapsible. So in terms of, high flows or flooding concerns, completely collapse, it's like it doesn't exist.
Now, we're talking about river surfing culture, right? And I think maybe a lot of people have never even heard of it, seen it before. I mean, how big of a culture is this in cities around the world?
It is actually exploding right now. When you look, and it's being led by Europe. When you look at Europe right now, just for 2022, you have 30 projects of creation of rivers wave, okay? So 30 projects of waves around Europe only for 2022. That's massive.
Skateboarding culture. There are many cities that are famous for their skateboarding, Paris, Barcelona, places like that, where it's also something that is a part of the urban fabric, but it's also something that we can see, which is what cities are all about, looking at each other, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There was some studies actually made on river surfing and the amount of people stopping and watching, and the ratio is 1 to 10.
Wow.
So 1 surfer, 10 people watching.
We know without a doubt that urban green spaces are crucial to our well-being. But cities around the world also need to remember to reconnect with their blue space. Rivers in urban settings have often been used for transport and industry. With many of these industries now moved away from city centers, I'd say it's officially time to reclaim these waterways and make them part of daily life. Okay, so David, in your opinion, why is the river so important to urban life here in Calgary?
Well, I mean, it's important for so many different factors. I mean, you know this concept in Japan of forest bathing?
Yeah.
Where, doctors prescribe people to go and spend some time in the forest to kind of, like clear their mind and, spirits and come back all recharged. Yeah. I truly believe that there would be a similar case to be made for a river in a city, like, the connection of people with the water, and it has a calming effect. I mean, not only it's cooler on a day like that where it's like 30 degrees, you can just go and tip your toe, look at all the people around us. But so yeah, just for that mental health aspect, it kind of cut with the cement and the road and the noise and
the cars in the city.
The cars are honking and everything. Like we see a lot of users everywhere. Everybody on the bank on the river, and we have 2 rivers here. It's like you can't avoid it. It's like right in front of you. And that's what's great with this river. Like it's not particularly technical. Particularly the stretch we're doing, so it's accessible to everybody. Our project is like an economical case for the city. It's not just like a dream from a bunch of surfers. Studies have shown that on a wave like we're trying to build, you can have 3 to 5 million in economical revenue per year, additional revenue.
How do you make money off a bunch of people surfing?
A wave? Yeah. Well, that's a good question. People coming to surf, people bringing their friends and family, the hotels, the equipment, the growing community needing more equipment and bringing more people. That's also, think about the competition, the contest that we could have like once a year. And we would like to be able to give that to the city.
If all goes well, the new River Wave Park will be completed in about 5 years. In the meantime, Calgarians gather near Pierce Estate Park, where an urban wave lets everyone try out river surfing and a myriad of other water sports.
Hey man, how are you? Hey, là.
Oh, how you doing? What is this place? I mean, this is obviously a hot spot for a lot of people. What is this right here?
So this is called Harvey Passage. It's designed as a kayak course. There's a lot of training happening here. And there's a wave right here that the surfers started using about 3-4 years ago. And since, it's booming, it's exploding, now they're using, this wave right here. And that's also the site of the future project that we have. It's the second wave project we have for Calgary. It's going to be an adjustable wave for beginner this time. Oh. And yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm not lying when I say the sport is exploding. We've got like 20 people waiting to go for a surf right now on a Tuesday afternoon,
Our goal for today, just as a beginner, is I try to recommend people just learn board control. feel what it's like to be in a current, swimming in fast water. We'll try to get you into the pocket, we'll get you out into the current here, and we'll get you back into the eddies safely.
Yep, this is what it's all about. Finding these little pockets of life-sized goodness shows us, yet again, that a city is way, way more than its streets and buildings. When you look beyond the engineering and the concrete, you will find life. Every single time.
One thing's for certain, man, if we had this here in Calgary when I was growing up, I would have been way better at it than I was today. But hey, you just try it, you give it a shot, you enjoy the urban life that this city has to offer. And that's what cities can do, man. They give you everything you need, everything you want, if you decide to make it happen and create the city that you want to live in.
Yeah, I think we can make that work.
I wasn't planning on getting one here in Calgary. The joke was I should get a +15 system connecting up all of the different neighborhoods. But then I thought, you know what? The childhood street with the childhood home, that felt like the right thing to do. Well aware of the irony of putting a suburban North American street right up next to Beirut and connected to densely populated Copenhagen. But, you know, it's my history, and it means a lot to me still, so feels right. This is a weird place. But man, it can't be easy being hogtied to a single industry, oil and gas, for decades. The urban challenges that this city faces are probably recognizable to most of us, but the scale of them here is mind-blowing. But I've learned that there are always people, even in unlikely cities, trying to make the place better. I've met them in Mexico City, in Detroit, in Bangkok. I've met them here, and I am so glad I did. But their work is cut out for them. Change is desperately needed. I see the diversity that immigration brings and finally engaging the First Nations peoples as the greatest assets that this city possesses as it tries to get rid of all the mistakes of the 20th century and move towards a better urban future.